The desperate plea in the rain fell in relentless sheets, blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and gray. Inside a quiet corner cafe, Elena sat motionless, staring at her reflection in the window. Her coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but she couldn't bring herself to leave. It wasn't just the weather keeping her there. It was the heaviness she carried in her chest, the exhaustion of a woman who had lost almost everything. She had come to this cafe every afternoon for weeks, trying to escape the echo of an empty apartment and the silence that followed heartbreak. Her engagement ring, now tucked in her purse, felt like a forgotten promise. Just as she reached for her coat, the door swung open with a sharp gust of wind. A man stumbled in, drenched to the bone, his breath coming in shallow bursts. His hair clung to his forehead, his clothes plastered against his skin, and his eyes, those dark, hollow eyes, looked like they had seen too much grief. The barista offered him a towel, but he didn't take it. His gaze darted across the room, scanning every face, until it landed on Elena. For a moment, they just stared at each other, strangers caught in a strange current neither understood. He hesitated, then walked toward her with uncertain steps, his hands trembling as if he were carrying the weight of something too fragile to hold. "Excuse me," he said, his voice cracking under the strain of desperation. "I know this sounds insane, but please hear me out." Elena blinked, startled, unsure if she should respond or call for help. "Do I know you?" she asked cautiously. "I know," he said quickly, shaking his head. "You don't. But I don't have anyone else to ask." His lips trembled as he spoke, his words tumbling out unevenly, as if he had rehearsed them 100 times and still couldn't make them sound right. "Oh, please, can you pretend to be my wife? Just for 1 week?" Elena froze. The clatter of a coffee cup in the background was the only sound between them. Her first instinct was to think he was joking, or worse, unstable, but then she saw it, the pain in his eyes, the kind that doesn't fake itself. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. He fumbled for his wallet, his fingers shaking, and pulled out a worn photograph. A little girl, no more than 7, smiling brightly at the camera with a missing front tooth, holding a balloon shaped like a heart. "My daughter," he said softly. "Her name's Lily. Tomorrow's her birthday." Elena looked at the photo, then back at him. "And you want me to?" He nodded, voice breaking. "She thinks her mom is coming home. I told her she was, but she's gone. She's been gone for 2 years. Cancer took her, and Lily, she hasn't smiled since. She just wants her mom back, even if it's only for a day. I know how crazy it sounds, but I can't tell her the truth, not on her birthday. I just can't watch her cry again." The cafe seemed to shrink around them. Elena felt something tighten in her throat, a strange ache she hadn't expected. She didn't know this man. She didn't know his daughter, but the way he stood there, trembling, drenched, his voice cracking between guilt and love, stirred something deep inside her. "You don't even know me," she murmured. "I know," he said, his eyes glistening, "but you look kind." The words lingered between them like a fragile thread. Elena looked down at the photo again, tracing the little girl's smile with her eyes. She thought of her own mother gone too soon. She thought of the loneliness that followed her every night home. And for the first time in months, she felt something other than pain. She felt purpose stirring beneath the sorrow. The rain outside grew heavier, tapping against the glass like an impatient heartbeat. Elena looked back at the man, this stranger whose eyes begged for mercy more than help, and without realizing it, her lips parted to speak the illusion of family. The following morning, the sky was still heavy with the memory of rain, its clouds hanging low and pale. Elena stood outside Daniel's small suburban home, her heart pounding in her chest. She still couldn't believe what she had agreed to. The night before had felt like a dream, one fueled by pity, confusion, and something deeper she couldn't name. But now, as she clutched the hem of a borrowed floral dress and stared at the small house before her, it all felt painfully real. A white picket fence, a tricycle tipped over on the grass, and a handmade banner in the window that read, "Welcome home, Mommy?" Her breath caught in her throat. Daniel appeared at the door looking exhausted but somehow lighter than he had in the cafe. His shirt was freshly pressed, his hair neatly combed, but his eyes still carried the same quiet storm. When he saw Elena, relief washed over his face. "You came," he whispered, as if afraid that saying it too loudly would make her disappear. Before she could reply, the front door swung open, and a little girl came running out, barefoot, her curls bouncing, her smile wide enough to melt the coldest heart. "Mommy!" she cried, and in that instant, Elena froze. The child's eyes sparkled with pure joy, her arms open as she ran straight into Elena's legs. For a moment, Elena stood stiff, unsure of what to do, until instinct took over. She knelt and hugged the girl tightly, feeling the warmth of her small arms wrap around her neck. "Hey, sweetheart," she said softly, her voice trembling. Daniel's gaze met hers over the little girl's head, filled with both gratitude and guilt. Elena saw it, the silent apology in his eyes, the unspoken pain that came with this illusion. But Lily didn't see any of it. To her, her mother was home, and that was all that mattered. Inside the house, everything was carefully arranged to feel like a family waiting to begin again. Balloons floated near the ceiling, a cake sat in the middle of the dining table, and the scent of vanilla and sugar filled the air. There were framed photos everywhere: Daniel, Lily, and her real mother, smiling in moments frozen in time. Elena's chest tightened as she looked at them. She wasn't replacing anyone, yet here she was, standing where another woman once stood, pretending to fill a void that could never truly be filled. Lily grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the living room. "Oh, come see what Daddy and I made," she exclaimed. On the floor was a pile of crayons and a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands. Above them were the words, my family." Elena's throat burned. Daniel knelt beside his daughter, smiling through the ache. "If she wanted to finish it today," he said quietly. Throughout the day, Elena played her part. They baked cupcakes, danced to old songs in the kitchen, and blew up more balloons than the room could hold. With each laugh, each smile, the house began to feel alive again, as if the ghost of grief had stepped back for a moment to let happiness breathe. But beneath every laugh was a layer of truth neither adult could ignore. Daniel watched Elena with a mixture of awe and sorrow. She was gentle with Lily, patient and kind, the kind of warmth he hadn't seen in his daughter's eyes since his wife passed away. At bedtime, Elena sat by Lily's bedside, reading from a storybook. The little girl fought sleep with heavy eyelids, clutching Elena's hand tightly. "Oh, Mommy, promise you won't leave again," she murmured. The words pierced through Elena like a knife. Her eyes filled with tears she couldn't let fall, and she smiled through the pain. "I'll be here," she whispered, knowing full well it wasn't true. Later, as the house fell silent and Lily's soft breathing filled the room, Daniel stood by the doorway, his expression unreadable. When Elena looked up, he whispered, "You made her smile." "I haven't seen her smile like that in 2 years. Elena looked down at the sleeping child, her small face peaceful under the glow of the nightlight. She had only meant to help, to play a role for a few days, but now she could feel the boundaries blurring, the line between pretending and feeling starting to fade. Something fragile yet undeniable had taken root between them, a quiet connection built on shared pain and unspoken understanding. The illusion of family had begun to feel too real, too comforting, and somewhere deep inside her heart, she feared what would happen when the week came to, and the truth and the turning point. The week passed like a dream neither Elena nor Daniel wanted to wake from. So, every day seemed to stitch a small tear in the wounds they both carried. They became a family in all the little ways that mattered, sharing breakfast together, walking Lily to school, laughing over burnt pancakes and bedtime stories that never ended on time. For the first time in years, Daniel's house felt alive again. The echoes of loss that once haunted every corner were replaced by the sound of Lily's laughter and the gentle hum of hope. Yet as the final day of their arrangement drew closer, an unspoken heaviness hung in the air, a silence that neither Daniel nor Elena knew how to break. On the morning of Lily's birthday party, the house buzzed with excitement. Pink balloons lined the walls and a giant cake stood proudly on the table. Lily twirled around in her new dress, her cheeks glowing with happiness. She clung to Elena's hand, calling her a mommy with innocent joy that tore at Elena's heart each time. Daniel watched from the kitchen doorway, his emotions caught between gratitude and guilt. He had done what he thought was right to give his daughter one more moment of pure happiness. But now, watching Elena and Lily together, he couldn't ignore the ache that this lie had created. He knew the truth had to come out, and when it did, it would break something beautiful. Guests began to arrive, neighbors, classmates, and teachers, all eager to celebrate Lily's special day. Elena smiled through the introductions, pretending to be comfortable as everyone greeted her as a Mrs. Bennet. The words stung every time, not because she disliked the sound of them, but because a part of her wished they were true. The illusion had become a comfort, a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She found herself caring for this family in ways she never expected. When Lily hugged her, when Daniel smiled at her with quiet gratitude, she felt something she hadn't dared to feel since her own heartbreak: belonging. As the party went on, Daniel stepped outside to take a call, leaving Elena in the living room, surrounded by laughter and balloons. Lily ran to her room to fetch her gift for her father, and for a moment, the house fell still. Then, a soft voice broke the quiet. "You're not her real mom, are you?" It was Mrs. Green, a neighbor who had known the Bennett family for years. Her tone wasn't cruel, just curious, but the words felt like a dagger. Elena froze, her heart racing. Before she could respond, Lily appeared in the doorway, clutching her gift box. Her smile faded as she heard the words echo in the room. "Haha, Mommy?" she whispered, her small voice trembling. "What does she mean?" The room fell into silence so sharp it felt like the air had stopped moving. Daniel rushed back in, his face pale, his phone still in hand. "Lily, sweetheart," he began, but the little girl shook her head, tears already welling in her eyes. "You said Mommy was back," she cried, her voice breaking. "You lied!" Elena knelt beside her, tears flooding her eyes. "Lily, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered, reaching out, but the little girl pulled away, her tiny body trembling with confusion and pain. Daniel stood frozen, guilt written across every line of his face. The truth had finally surfaced, and with it came the weight of every unspoken regret. Lily ran upstairs, slamming her door, and the sound echoed through the quiet house. Daniel's voice trembled as he spoke. "I thought I was protecting her. I thought just for 1 week she could feel whole again." Elena turned to him, her own voice raw. "And now she's lost her mother all over again." For a long moment they stood there in silence, the illusion they had built crumbling around them. Later that night, when the guests had gone and the laughter had faded, Elena stood outside Lily's door, listening to her quiet sobs. Slowly, she opened it and sat beside the little girl's bed. "You know, Lily," she said softly, "sometimes people pretend because they want to make someone they love happy. But I want you to know something. I wasn't pretending when I cared about you." The little girl sniffled, her small hand inching toward Elena's. "Will you leave again, Litza?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Elena couldn't answer. Her throat was too tight. Daniel stood silently in the doorway, watching the woman who had stepped into their lives as a stranger but had somehow brought warmth back into their home. The truth had broken them open, but in that breaking something real began to take root, something neither of them had planned, but neither could ignore anymore.